Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your host, Westside and Big Sass today, changing it up with a little midweek breakdown. We are going to discuss week seven's events and talk about tonight's Thursday night game for you a little bit. Uh, Hopping right into it. Week seven, first game on the books. Yeah, schedule hasn't been too hot. I don't have I haven't been liking the NFL's schedule automator program, whatever they use. Hasn't cranked out the best matchups. There's been some letdowns too. Aaron Rodgers going down screwed a lot of these primetime games, unless you're a Zach Wilson fan. But oh well.
I forgot
It,
they were doing. I keep forgetting that it's not done by the human brain anymore.
AI taking over. Um,
Just quick note on that, and then we'll move on. It's stupid because even though it's not in a disadvantage to the Eagles, but 2 years in a row, the Vikings have played the Eagles week two in Philly. Like I'm pretty sure on Monday night. Like that's not fair to the Vikings to have to play an outer team, a non-division team at their field 2 seasons in a row. Makes no sense. Like
it's
who's
what the people.
checking these?
It's what the people want.
I'm fine with it, but whatever. Moving on.
Moving on. All right. First up on the board, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New Orleans Saints. Jags came out on top 31-24. Um I don't know what else you'd expect. It's the Derek Carr versus Trevor Lawrence show. Travis Etienne came out the gate and put two touchdowns up real quick. I thought, being a ETN owner in fantasy, that he was going to run away and get a monster game to save me. He goes a little quiet after that, but he came out, got a touchdown. Saints got a field goal. ETN got another touchdown early in the second quarter, and it was kind of a field goal fest. And Derek Carr, he's a quarterback I feel like you want to like, but then he throws that pick six, and that's it. I mean, the strength of the Saints, if you would agree, is their defense, and you just spot the other team a touchdown, and it ended up being a one score game. That's it. That's the game right there. You threw a pick six, and you lost the game.
Yeah, Derek Carr is just a shell of himself. I don't know if it's injuries or what's going on. If he's just not that good. But yeah, 55 attempts, 5.5 yards per attempt. Ugh, garbage. Just
Doesn't have a connection
check,
with
check
no
down.
connection with Chris Olave.
Yeah, just check down Johnny over here.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate the Jags, not as much as the Colts, but I'm really not a big Jag supporter, obvious reasons. But I mean,
It's just
what?
funny when sometimes you'll randomly. I forget that you're. I don't forget that you're a Titans fan, but I forget that like the teams you hate are completely different than the teams I hate, and
Yeah,
it's just like I hate the Jaguars. I'm like, well, that's random. I'm like, oh yeah, Titans.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's constantly tiptoeing around like you know being elite. Um, One thing I thought that he did well in this game was when holes opened um, in the front, he just took off and got the first down. It's one thing that Patrick Mahomes does probably better than any quarterback, and it's probably the most frustrating part of his game. You played near perfect defense, and you see him waddling for like a 15-yard gain, and you're like, "How's this possible?" Trevor Lawrence took the yards that were there and did it on a busted knee. Got the win. At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Saints, I'm sorry. The Derek Carr experiment has not paid off so far. Luckily, you're in a crap division, so you're still in it.
Signing QBs, maybe, outside of their prime, isn't really working out the last few years. Carr, Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Hey, it's a quarterback-driven league. You got to have one to compete. Um, for the most part, unless you have Derrick Henry or Miles Garrett, apparently. Got to take your shots. Got
Yep.
to take them. If you have money to throw around, throw it around. We've all played Madden. Go through 5 quarterbacks in 2 years until you find the diamond in the rough. Who cares? Next up, we have maybe the letdown of the week. The Detroit Lions came into Baltimore looking like one of the hottest teams in the league, and I mean they got spanked, 38-6. Baltimore. Let's see. Baltimore went up.
What's worse, that they didn't score, that the 6 points isn't 2 field goals, or that it's a touchdown with a missed extra point? Like, what's worse?
What's worse is the Baltimore was up 35-0.
Yes.
35-0. Going into halftime 28-0. The fact that Baltimore basically on offense did whatever they wanted, and defensively, I mean, Jared Goff was under pressure all day. His passes were off because he was feeling the pressure. Um, the thing is, leading into this game, Detroit's defense, the strength of that defense was their front four. They blitzed. They were like bottom 2 in blitz percentage, so they're just winning with their front four. And I think their front four, they're bottom 3 in blitz percentage, and they're top 3 in pressure. So you're sending 4 guys still getting pressure rate. Yeah, that's like the Jim Schwartz special. That's makes defense easy for you. And then they play Lamar Jackson, and their defensive coordinator, he seemed like we're only going to rush 3 and drop a spy. Well, Lamar just sat in the pocket and picked you apart all day. If you look at a lot of the screenshots of Lamar, he's like 10 yards away from the nearest defender, just sitting there comfortably making a sandwich, and then he slings like a 30-yard wide open pass to a wide receiver.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, most NFL quarterbacks can pick you apart if you're going to play that type of defense, let alone a former MVP.
yeah, there's
The argument I've heard some people make is, I forgot what I was going to say now. Well, never mind. Go on.
yeah, I think the whoever came up with that game plan defensively for Detroit, like hopefully it was an eye opener. And luckily for them, they won't have to see Lamar again unless they meet in the Super Bowl. Because that was
Well, I just pulled up. They've only played twice, Lamar Jackson and Detroit. So you could argue that maybe he just tears up teams he doesn't play as much, but they only won. That was the 66-yard field goal game from Justin Tucker, and Lamar had 1 touchdown, 1 interception with a 51 completion percentage. So maybe just this coordinator didn't know what he was doing.
yeah. I was watching the game. I mean, the game got boring, but at the beginning of the game, I was watching it like unbiased. Like, what are you doing? Like,
It's the type of game that you love if the team the fans of the winning team, it's the best game ever. But for everybody else, it's just not a good game.
yeah. Hats off to Lamar. He had a near perfect game. Um, when Gus Edwards gets like an 80-yard reception, you messed up.
Yeah, it looked fast too.
I don't know about that.
It looked like the bus.
Pretty sure, anyone else in the league would have scored on that play.
Well, fair.
But yeah, good game for the Ravens. Hopefully for the Lions, this is a little speed bump in the way, and they turn it. They just get back on track. And that's it. They just you can't let that derail your season. Um, you ran into a MVP caliber player. Is what it is. Next up, we got the if my computer loads. Even uglier game. We have the Las Vegas Raiders going to Chicago. Um,
It's the
I
Dante
mean,
Foreman game.
yeah. You have for the Bears Tyson. Oh wow, what's it? Badgett, right? Badgett.
Tyson Beignet.
Oh, okay, I think okay, Beignet, but I'm pretty sure it's Badgett. Um, uh, Division II quarterback, rookie, coming in on a not too great Bears team. Chance for the Raiders to get a 4-3 winning record, at least have something positive on their season. And you come out, Bajent looks good. 21 of 29, 160 yards, a touchdown, 97 quarterback rating. I watched a breakdown of his tape. Like, it looked like one thing I'll say is he was making his reads. Like, you saw it. It was very simple play calling for obvious reasons, but he was hiking the ball and he was going 1, 2. Okay, there's my guy. 1, 2, 3. Oh, check down. He took off one play when he had a window too, and then yeah, you let Dante Foreman uh, put up 3 touchdowns on you. But I was thinking Dante Foreman. He's the Fitzpatrick of running backs. He goes to teams, the starter gets hurt, he takes over, everyone goes, "Oh, this Foreman guy, he's actually really good." He gets signed to another team as the backup. You're like, "Oh, wow, what happened to Foreman? He looked good last year." The starter goes down, and then, "Oh yeah, Foreman, oh man, this guy can play." And he has like 4
He
years of
must
doing
be
it
the
now.
worst practice player ever
That could be. I mean,
because he wasn't even active.
he was basically out of the league until the Titans picked him up when Henry got hurt. And then when McCaffrey got hurt and traded, he looked good, and now this year he's looking good for the Bears.
Yep.
Um, the Bears, they started with Brian Hoyer. He looked awful. Only completed 4 yards per attempt. Only 4 yards per attempt. Only completed 17 passes through 2 interceptions. They finally brought in Aiden O'Connell.
The
Looked a
most
little better.
unquarterback looking guy I've ever seen in my life.
I like him. I thought in the
It
preseason he
makes
looked
me like
good.
him.
But
Looks like Uncle Rico out there.
hey, Uncle Rico was slinging over the mountains. But now there's murmurs that the players are basically about to have a mutiny against Josh McDaniels. RJ's
I
probably
was
got
gonna
his
say
popcorn ready to watch. Get a
RJ's
ticket
not
out
gonna have
to
popcorn. He's gonna be in the middle of it.
yeah, he's gonna get a ticket out to Las Vegas, and he's gonna be in the sides, like just whispering, like
You think you're better than me? Just kicking him.
RJ's just gonna like sneak into like the players when they're like meeting and be like, I don't know what this guy's doing. Like plays like, man, Devonta, you're wide open, and Josh McDaniels is scheming other guys, and oh, Josh Jacobs, like, why aren't you getting the ball more? You were a beast last year, and just whispering all this doubt into into the air, going on Twitter as like anonymous, like, I hear reports that the Raiders are gonna fire Josh McDaniels tonight.
Maybe the worst coach in the league.
Did he finally take over from Brandon Staley as the worst coach in your mind? Because I know you're the biggest Brandon Staley hater.
I will say that Brandon Staley had a good week, but then last week he sucked again. Um, According to the people, Josh McDaniels is the worst coach. So
Okay.
it was a
Maybe,
63% to 37% Josh McDaniels versus Brandon Staley worst coach.
well, maybe the people were right. But I mean, enough of that game. It was an ugly game, and unless you were starting Dante Foreman in fantasy, like some people.
Yes.
Next up, this game actually ended up being pretty interesting. We had the Browns at the Colts. Browns sneak out with a 39-38 win with PJ Walker. I mean, this was a back and forth game. I'm just going to pull up the scoring summary. Starting the game, Jerome Ford, 70-yard touchdown to the house. A few minutes later, Josh Downs, 60-yard touchdown. Then Minshew decided to say, "Forget Anthony Richardson. I got some wheels." He had a 17-yard rush. Kareem Hunt finally showed his face, got a touchdown. Um, and then Gardner Minshew uh, thought you were ending the half on a good note, got another rushing touchdown. Unfortunately, with just under 2 minutes, he got stripped by Myles Garrett, and the Browns returned it for a touchdown. They continued to trade points all the way throughout the game. Um, Colts took the lead with under 6 minutes with a 75-yard touchdown by Michael Pittman. Apparently, he does have legs because usually I feel like he can never run. Colts take the lead 38-33, and then with 19 seconds left, after some controversial penalties, Kareem Hunt gets a 1-yard rush to take the lead and eventually win the game.
Hmm.
I know Colts fans are very upset with some of the plays that got called. Jim Irsay came out and said that the refs announced that they did make the wrong call, but it's on your record, so nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. It seems like the Browns in a random team always have one crazy game like this every few years. It reminded me of the Browns Chiefs game in 2009, 41-34, the Jerome Harrison and Jamal Charles game. Remember that one?
Yes.
Like
Jerome Harrison
500 yards between
put
them.
up didn't Jerome Harrison rush for 250 or something in that game?
Yeah, it was just long score after long score.
Yeah. What's funny is it's like you're giving Deshaun Watson $250 million,
Worst contract in the league, right?
elite defense, but he supposedly won't play or can't play, and you got PJ Walker leading you to victory. At what point do you just cut your ties and say, "We made a mistake"? Um, I would get your $1 million lawyer and try and get you out of that contract as hard as you could.
Yeah, I don't know how it all works, the ins and outs of the monies and the contracts and all that stuff, but like the owner just figure out how to get a loan for that and just mark it off the books.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they get injury. They're like, "Oh, you are hurt. All right, injury clause. You're done." Moving on though. No one cares about the Colts. We got the Buffalo Bills at the Patriots. Patriots win 29-25. Um, I don't know what's happening with the Bills. Mac Jones actually looked like a legit quarterback. 25 of 30 for 270, two touchdowns. Josh Allen, throws an interception. Bills struggle to run the ball. And they're kind of saved by yet again. Stephon Diggs kind of makes a nice catch, breaks some tackles to score a touchdown. Bills probably think they won the game. They scored with 2 minutes on the clock, except for the Patriots just marched down the field perfectly, score to basically walk off. Um, I mean, we've been saying this for years about the Bills. It they're a decent defense, and then Josh Allen just puts the team on his back. And if this is the fourth year of it, I don't know. Maybe the league caught up or the Bills fell behind.
I just think I think the Bills are in the situation where they're asking too much out of Josh Allen week to week. Um, Not completely putting the blame on just the team or the offensive coordinator, but it just seems like it's been the same thing for a few years, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But they need to be they need a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball and play calling, and maybe even bring him back a little bit with you can take the check down. You don't have to dodge four guys and throw a 60-yard bomb to Stephon Diggs. But it's almost like they encourage it. So and then their
Yeah.
defense took some hits on the injury side earlier in the year, so
Yeah.
we knew
Ed
that was going to be a
Oliver, Matt
problem.
Milano, Trey Davis.
Yeah,
Not Trey
Tre'Davious
Davis.
White.
Tre'Davious White. I was close.
I thought
Yeah,
you
I
were right
mean,
for a second.
it sounded right. They're banged up. sort of time to turn it around, but they're definitely reeling. You got they're wounded. Gotta patch up the wound, heal, and move on. Trade for Derrick Henry, maybe. Who knows? But we'll see. We got a few kind of not the best games in the world. Commanders at the Giants. Giants win 14-7. Tyrod Taylor gets the win. Um,
Well, just terrible. That's a 1 minute quarter Madden score when you don't have time to play a full game.
yeah. Unfortunately, basically how it broke down was Washington couldn't run the ball. Sam Howell got sacked 6 times. It's a combination of a bad O line, and he's just kind of forcing to make plays instead of throwing the ball away. Um, Barkley only got rushed for 3.7 a carry, but they gave him 21 carries. It's kind of a smart move. The game's going to be close. Just feed him, and eventually it'll work out. Um, and let's see for the Giants, Darren Waller finally had a day, 7 catches, 100 yards, a touchdown. Barkley caught a touchdown as well. Commanders literally had nothing today. I think it was can't remember which defensive tackle. One of the defensive tackles, Allen, maybe had the little locker room thing where he's like, "I'm sick of this stuff. Been losing for 7 years. Like,
Hmm.
starting to boil over." Maybe Ron Rivera doesn't make it through the season. Who knows? Ugly game.
They're all. RJ said it. He's been ranting for a few weeks now. They're. It sounds like I'm getting vibes that the new ownership is going to want to hit the reset button on this team.
Yeah,
At
might as
least at
well.
least the coaching staff, and I don't know who their GM is, but maybe even the GM and maybe a few key players here and there.
Yeah. Next game we got Falcons at Buccaneers. Falcons get the win 16-13. Falcons are 4-3. Doesn't look pretty, but they know their game. They're getting the wins. Desmond Ritter, um, 19 out of 25, but he got the nice 10 yards per attempt, which is really nice. Baker Mayfield, kind of up and down game, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Surprisingly, Bijan Robinson only gets 1 carry. Apparently, he started feeling ill before the game. Who cares? Between Ritter, Algier, and Patterson, the Falcons combined for almost 150 rush yards. Um, Meanwhile, for the Bucs, I mean, Mike Evans had a big 40-yard touchdown to kick the game off, but then their offense went a little stagnant after that. Um,
It would have been more of a blowout if Ritter hadn't fumbled the ball in the one like twice.
yeah, but I mean, these Falcons are a resilient team. Uh, both teams 9 penalties apiece, so sloppy football. Both teams struggled to punch in some touchdowns, but hey, Falcons came out on top. Arthur Smith, a little bit of a Vrabel disciple. It's not always pretty, but gets the job done. Let's see. We got Steelers at Rams. Pretty good game actually. Da, 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 da.
Whoa.
Neither team looked great. One thing to point out: Puka Nakua goes 8 catches, 154 yards. He had one catch where he heel tapped his foot in to get 2 feet. It was a beautiful catch. Um, what basically is going to overshadow this whole game is that in the fourth quarter, when the Steelers were trying to kill the clock, they went for it, QB sneak on 4th and 1. It was pretty
Wasn't
obvious that
close.
Pickett, yeah, wasn't close, went down. It looked like he was clearly at least half a yard short. Half a yard is a foot and a half. That's easy to see, a foot and a half. Ref said it was good. It happened at like the 2:06 mark. The Rams had already used
Dumb.
all their timeouts to try and preserve the clock. Couldn't review it. League chose not. No, they did review it.
No. So
No.
you can only review a fourth down if it's converted. If it's not converted, you can't review it. How dumb is
No,
that?
it was converted though.
Then it's the other way around. Then it can't be reviewed if it was converted. If it's a failed fourth down because it's a turnover on downs, it's reviewed.
Okay, well, basically because of the league's rules and everything, the Rams couldn't do anything about it. And the Steelers killed the clock and won the game. Moral of the story is try to save your timeouts. I think the way the time was going, the Rams didn't have to burn them all before the 2-minute warning. Um, hey, it's one where you go back and you go, we should have had that one, but nothing you can do about it. The league's not perfect. If you leave it in the league's hands, they're going to screw you over more often than not. Can't make mistakes.
Yep. Yep.
Also, the Rams just didn't look on sync that game. Steelers defense is still pretty legit.
Yeah, Steelers
Um,
surprising 4-2.
yeah. Next up, Cardinals at Seahawks. Um, Cardinals are kind of the lovable team this year. They got a lot of fight. They have they find ways to stay in games. Seahawks go up, win 20-10 to move on to being 4-2.
It's funny you say that because I feel like a lot of people are saying that about the Cardinals, yet they're 1-6 and like they lose by like double digits every game.
I mean,
They
but
play
like,
so good in like the first half and then they fall apart in the second half.
they're just not a good team. Geno Smith gets 2 touchdowns, 113 quarterback rating. Kenneth Walker, 26 carries for 105. And then the rookies, Jackson Smith,
Najigba.
Najiba, I always butcher his name, and Jake, is it just Bobo? Jake Bobo?
Bobo.
Both get touchdowns, both at 15 yards per catch. Bobo's catch is pretty ridiculous. Sideline catch. I won't say it was the what's the Super Bowl catch? Steelers. What's his name?
Santonio Holmes.
Yeah, it was similar where you're like, no way, and then you see the replay and you're like, oh shoot, sure enough, he got his feet in. Good for him.
Yep.
Yeah, Seahawks far from a perfect team, but they're churning away. Similar to last year, probably gonna get in as a wild card. As long as they have Geno Smith at the helm, I'll root for them. I don't know why. I like them. Da, da, da. Last game before we get to the pretty good games to end the week 7. Packers Broncos. Broncos win 19-17. Who really cares about these teams at this point? Russell Wilson's garbage, but he gets a touchdown, 98 rating. Cortland Sutton bails him out with a touchdown. Javonte Williams, he's back, turns out 15 carries for 80 yards. And the Broncos are at 2-5, Packers are at 2-4. Just to be real, if you're a fan of either of these teams, probably in for a long season. I can say that being a Titans fan, so we're all in the same boat. Trevor cannot because he's biased.
Wouldn't that be biased?
I don't know. You're something. You're something. I don't know what it is.
A winner.
We had first big game that I guess people thought was going to be a barn burner. We had the Chargers at the Chiefs. Chiefs win 31-17. Chargers aren't good. Justin Herbert's overrated. I've been saying it for a while. Herbert gets 2 interceptions. Austin Eckler, 14 carries for 45 yards. Josh Palmer pops off for 133 yards, but no one else does really anything. And then meanwhile, Mahomes throws 4 touchdowns, 1 to Kelsey, Valdez-Scantling, Rice, Pacheco. When you combine Mahomes with a pretty legit defense, this is what happens. hate on the Chiefs. I saw someone posted prior to that game, Mahomes and Russell Wilson's stats were like pretty identical, but of course, call it Mahomes, and he's gonna drop a game like this on you.
Yeah, I still like Justin Herbert, and he's stuck with Kellen Moore, who even Cowboys fans didn't like at times, and then Brandon Staley, who his specialty is an offense and it's defense, and he's not even that good at that. You know, with all the talent they supposedly have. So
It's curse of the Chargers.
if I was him, oh wait, he already re-signed, didn't he?
Yeah, big deal.
Maybe he's content living in Or well, no, they live in L.A. That's not that
Yeah,
great. But
Chargers curse. I don't know what you're gonna do about it. Sacrifice the Raiders or something. Who knows? Uh, and again, next game up, everyone thought it was gonna be a barn burner. We had the Dolphins at the Eagles. Eagles win 31-17. I'll just pass this one along to you.
yeah, I mean the Eagles handled business. I was a little surprised how well the defense played. They only give up. Well, my ears just started ringing. They only gave up 10 offensive points to the Dolphins. Greatest show in history according to people this year. Um, aside from that deflected pick six in the
But the
third.
refs gave you the game.
I was going to get to that. 10 penalties for the Dolphins, 0 for the Eagles. Yeah, there's a few missed calls on the Eagles. I don't really think any of them would have had an impact on the outcome of the game. If anything, the thing that hurt the Dolphins the most, one, the Eagles played really good defense. Two, Tyreek Hill dropped a touchdown, and then Tyreek Hill got a touchdown called back because of a blatant hold. So you can't blame the refs for either of those or the Eagles' good defensive game plan. Um, they pretty much they shut down the best rush offense in the league. The Eagles' rush defense is insane. They got players all over the place on that line that can pass rush and stuff the run. And without the run, Tua looked mortal if he wasn't already. Um, and had that bad pick at the end of the, or I don't know if it
Yeah,
was in the third or fourth quarter. He kind of floated it up. That was twice that game that the Dolphins had weird route combinations too. That could have been picks where two players ran to. It was a wheel route and then like what would that be, an out corner route?
I think it's because they're drawn up to be kind of quick hitters, and if they wait, then the players just naturally run to the same area.
Yeah, which is what
Um,
happened, and Tua just floated in the air. Just quick points on the Eagles end. I thought Jalen Hurts played really well again. I think he's played well most of the season. He just has been turning the ball over. Some his fault, some not his fault, which is the most for most quarterbacks. But I thought he had another really good game. The deflected pick six, that was just, I mean, just like any other deflected pick six, it's fluky, and it was a bad play call, a stupid, predictable screen. But take that away, and it's a even bigger blowout.
yeah, just some quick points for me. Was it Chris Long,
Yeah.
former Eagle? He broke down the game and he shouted out Jalen Carter. And one of the reasons why he thought the Eagles had the advantage is he referenced how smaller quarterbacks such as Tua typically struggle against interior pressure. And Jalen Carter was coming back, and sure enough,
First play of the game destroyed their guard,
who then got his
injured him.
ankle rolled up and he got injured. So that's one. Second point, I didn't know this until literally like 20 minutes ago. The Dolphins have not beaten a winning team in over a calendar year.
I didn't know it was that
Week
long.
3 of last year was the last time the Dolphins beat a team with a winning record.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was that long. And even this year, the Bills aren't even looking that good, and they got crushed by the
And
Bills.
then, final point, as much as I'm salty about it, Tyreek Hill is a great receiver, gets open, blazing speed, elite talent. But AJ Brown's a dog. Just bodies up corners, makes contested catches.
Yeah, I mean he's arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now.
I'm adding him. I mean, he kind of showed it last year, but I'm adding him to my list of receivers where you build your roster however you want to build your roster, and then you can add AJ Brown and just say, just go down the sideline and beat your corner, and we might throw to you if everything else fails, and that's he can do that and succeed. I think when he was on the Titans schemed him open a lot with RPOs and slants over the middle, which was his bread and butter. But now that he's,
Still, he still gets those.
fifth year in the league, he's really polished. I mean, he came into the league as a big receiver, but you see him in the games, he's yoked. He's built too strong for all these corners. Yeah, and you guys stole him from us. So moving on.
Thank you, Howie.
The last game, Monday Night Football, we have the 49ers at the Vikings. Vikings get the win 22-17. Biggest thing coming out of this is supposedly Brock Purdy suffered a concussion during the game, played through the entire game. People, I think, identified when he got the concussion. It looks like it was maybe during a QB sneak.
Oh
And
Jesus!
yeah, before that play, he was pretty efficient, had his one touchdown. After that play, he had like less than 50 completion percentage and he threw the two
So he
interceptions.
has an excuse.
Yeah. But the Niners they're looking a little mortal. McCaffrey got his touchdown to extend his touchdown game streak, but only 3 yards per carry. Only got 3 catches. Of course, got another reception touchdown. But he's banged up. The Niners really what they need is a bye week, um, because not looking too hot. The Vikings, I mean, is Kirk Cousins' game. 35 of 45, 370, 8 yards an attempt, 2 touchdowns, gets the one interception. Um, has threw one interception, but then later he just puts the ball up, trusts his receiver, and Addison turns around, steals the ball, goes for a 60-yard touchdown to end the half. And the Vikings hold on.
Who's the 49ers backup? What happens if he comes in and throws 4
Oh, it's
touchdowns?
Barkley, Matt Barkley.
What happens if he comes in and throws 4 touchdowns?
I was thinking about it this morning on the radio. They were talking about him, and they were like, "Well, here comes Barkley," and they're trashing him. I'm like, "What? Yeah, what if he comes in and he looks
He could do the
just as good as
same thing that
Purdy's looked?"
Purdy did last year to Trey Lance.
I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I think people wouldn't care. They go, "Yeah, we know it's a good system. It is what it is."
Gotta go to stick with Barkley.
Maybe, I don't know. I unfortunately right before this little skid they hit, I think I texted you, or maybe I said it on the last show. I was like, "At what point do we just accept that Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback and this is who he is?" Well, I guess spoke too soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I always. I Before we move on, I never thought he was an elite quarterback. I don't think it's fair to call him an elite quarterback. He hasn't even played 17 games, or at least he's close to it. Um, and when do quarterbacks ever get called like elite in their first 17 games? People are still saying Jalen Hurts now. Like, yeah, he had an MVP season last year, and he's in like the top 5 conversation pretty normally now. But that was after 2 good years in a row and a really good year last year. Made it to the Super Bowl, and then this year he's still playing really well, but he's turning the ball over. But now he's not as good. But Brock Purdy is like elite, but he's only played in 17 games. Like, why can't he just be a really good quarterback? Or why can't he just be a good quarterback who's playing in a really good system? And then we'll see if he turns out to be elite.
Because
Because
no one has time to wait.
people are crack
People
whack.
want people want what they want.
Yeah, whatever.
But
We'll
yeah, it
see
would
how
be
Barkley
funny.
does.
It would be funny if the Niners find themselves in yet another quarterback controversy.
Yep.
Real quick, we're going to talk about Thursday night football. It's the Buccaneers at 3-3 at the Buffalo Bills 4-3. Both teams coming off a loss. Bills are 9.5 point favorites. Um, I mean, you want to look at it and say, yeah, Bills are the way better team, but they haven't been playing like that. Um, Injuries, real quick. Chris Godwin, Vita Vea, and Baker are all questionable for the Bills. We already went over who's out. Um, Ed Oliver is questionable. They just put Dawson Knox on IR. Ideally, you think the Bills will win. I think 9.5 is a little rich for the spread, but Baker Mayfield is. I mean, he's not as gunslingery as he was when he was earlier in his career, but he's not afraid to put the ball downfield and trust his receivers. And I mean, the Buccaneers are definitely capable of dropping 14 points on you real quick. Um, Mike Evans continues to just get downfield on people. Um, I think this game is really on the Buccaneers defense. Just don't give up the big play. Make the Bills work down the field, nickel and dime you, and wait for that. Unfortunately, that mistake to come up, which eventually does.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think about this game because I don't know what to think about the Bills. The Buccaneers have kind of, you know, beaten the opponents that are lesser teams, and they've lost to the few good teams they've played. Um, and then the Bills are just wildly inconsistent. They're blowing out teams this year, and then they're losing games they should win this year. Um, so yeah, I mean, I mean, if
I mean,
the Bucks come out healthy, Baker Mayfield could, like you just said, he could throw for 250, 300, and have like a Mike Evans game where he throws up a couple touchdowns to him and they beat the Bills by like 10, 14 points. But then I could also see in the Bills struggling against Tampa Bay's defense, but I could also see Josh Allen going off. So I don't know.
yeah,
The 9.5 seems like a lot to me.
yeah. My thing with the Bills is they lost to the Jags, and I thought they were going to lose to the Jags. They were going to London. The Jaguars were already in London because they played the previous week. Because I guess the league did them a favor and let them have back-to-back London games. And they came back and they struggled, almost lost to the Giants, but that's off of traveling back from London. So you kind of were like, okay, that's fine. But then to lose to the Patriots, and I know the Patriots drove down and kind of walked it off, but the game really, the Bills were in catch up all game and got hot late to take the lead, but it wasn't like the Patriots were like dominating for most of that game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Bills have been struggling the last
You
few
you
weeks.
hope the Bills get a win and potentially get right, but I mean, I'm not saying the Buccaneers are like a really good team, but they're better than people give them credit for. And if who did I say was questionable for the Bucks?
Vita
Godwin,
Vea.
Vea, Baker. If they all end up being fine and playing, like it'll be a game. Both these quarterbacks will put the ball downfield, so if you like airing it out, like it'll be a game to watch. Hopefully, we get a good Thursday night football game and not one of those typical garbage ones.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna do picks, I would take the Bills. I would take.
Picking a
I'm gonna say
winner, give me
Bills
the
win.
Bills.
Huh?
If you're just talking about winning Bills, but that 9.5 points, I'll take the Bucks plus 9.5.
You take the. Oh yeah, the Bucks. Yeah, when you said
Yeah,
Bucks, I
if
registered
you're betting the
Bills.
game, Bucks plus 9.5,
Yeah, I
all
would
for
too.
that.
I'm gonna say 24. I don't, 24-20.
I was thinking Bills 27, Bucks 20. 9.5 covers it.
So we pretty much agree.
Yeah. But hey, maybe the Bucks punch in one of those touchdowns and make it a little more interesting. Who
Both
knows?
teams had tough losses last week, so they should both, on a short week, be wanting to redeem themselves.
Yep. But yeah. Everyone should be happy. We're almost through the week. Thursday night football. Football is football. Be happy you get to watch it
That's
because
the
soon the
quote of the
season will
week.
end. Soon the
Football is
season will
football.
end, and you'll have no football to watch. Anything else you wanted to talk about today?
Nope. You just said it. Thursday. It's almost the end of
Um,
the week, and football is football.
yeah. R.I.P. to the Bull. He's not dead. Just couldn't make it today.
Mm-hmm. His
Um,
pick does not count. We're not
yeah.
even going to tell you what it is.
So that does it for the show. This is No Interference. It's just the two of us today. Westside, Big Sass. Hope you like the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Oh, I know what the Bull said he was doing.
What?
Grave digging. For Washington.
Ooh. Well, that does it. Give us a like, follow, share, drop a comment. Follow us on social media at The NI Show. We're on Twitter and, I guess it's X now, and Instagram. As always, thanks for watching. Adios.